Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. I'm Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Mr. Jonathan M. Carney, as well as my girlfriend, Smokin Nicole. And tonight we have a very special guest with us. We have the legendary, tattooed covered leader of Tatuaje, Mr. Pete Johnson. Pete, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. You know what? I didn't realize that Carney was on the show like permanently. So like when I saw him post the link or the show on Instagram, was it last night or the night before?
Yeah.
I was like, he's going to be on with me.
Yeah, some people think I'm just playing really nice in the sandbox. They're like, man, you're sharing all this stuff. It's great. No, I'm actually physically on the show, and it's always a pleasure. So I know Matthew's been really excited, and I have too. And Nicole, to have you on, and we've had a good relationship over the years. And one of the first things Pete said to me, because there was this stereotype of people that joined La Florida Dominicana that they weren't going to be around. I met him at my very first IPCPR, and I found out you were from Maine. And you're like, well, it was nice to meet you, but I probably won't see you next year. And that was 9.5 years ago, so I've made it.
Wow. It's amazing
funny too,
how time flies.
Leading up to the show, he was like, oh, this is great. There's going to be another Mainer on the show with me. And I didn't realize you were originally from Maine. That's awesome.
Yeah, maniac. Actually, my brother and my parents still, and my sister still live up there. They're pretty close to each other within the Gardner, Maine vicinity. But yeah, I was the only one that got out. Casey actually tried to. And here I got text messages coming into my computer. Could you hear that, by the way? That was really irritating. Thank you.
Before the show got started.
That's what I want to turn him off. That's the problem.
Well, I found sometimes
is, with all the technology we got that's connected to each other when we go live and do a lot of shows, that was one of the big things last year when we started Quarantine Grilling, Hacking Gourmet, and the Smokin Tabacco Show, is I had people like FaceTime me in the middle of it. And I'm using the same headphones that are on my phone, that are on the computer, and it shuts everything off and overrides it for FaceTime. And so now I have everything shut off now for every show. I have this little routine I go through to make sure I can't receive any notifications. But
that's the whole thing is like I want to turn off the connected notifications that come to my computer for text messages, because the Hernandez brothers that are probably somewhere around you right now just texted me twice to tell me something that I don't need to know right now.
Well, since we got Pete on the show, we're all smoking Tatuaje tonight. I'm smoking an original Fausto. I think you said this was 2013, 2012?
You know what? I can't even remember when Fausto came out. It's so long ago. I think it might have been earlier than that. Fausto, I think, was 2011, maybe 2012. Someone would probably correct me. I have to, you know what I have to do? I have to look up on Half Wheel or something to find out.
Yeah. If anybody's in the chat box, let us know when Fausto came out, please.
I could do it. It's funny.
Pete Johnson doesn't even know when his own cigars came out.
No, I will tell you, it was 2011. It was 2011 because I came out with an Avion the same year.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are smoking cigars older than
William Cooper chimed in 2011.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Coop. I already told you.
Yeah.
Props to Coop, though.
Yeah, there you go.
Props for Coop for watching and jumping in on it. But it was 2011 because the smart thing that I did is when I came out with the Avion, which was part of the Fausto line, I numbered them by year. So Avion 11, 12, and 13. So now I know 2011.
There you go.
So the size I'm smoking is like in between a Toro and a Churchill. It looks like it's about 6.5 by about 52. So I guess that would be a really, how would you consider that, a really traditional Toro?
Actually, no, that's a little skinnier. You're smoking the 166, which is a 48. Does it feel a little thinner than like a? Yeah,
it does. I really like the size.
I think I'm smoking the same exact cigar.
It's a 48. It's a short Churchill. It's not your traditional Churchill, but people kind of confuse it with the. We do have a 6x50 in the line also, but then we move up from there to the 6.5. Sometimes I like a Churchill that's not as long as your standard, 747s or 748s. Sometimes that extra inch makes a difference.
The one thing I'll say about your cigars, Pete, that I've really enjoyed over the years, I've been smoking for at least 12 or 13 years. And this was one of the ones that really got me into it, because you said when the Avions came out, that was before I got into the business. I really like that size, the box press, the figurado shape on that. But you have a lot of, I wouldn't say off sizes, but you have unique sizes that aren't traditional. Like, I don't know of a lot of cigars that I've smoked that are this ring gauge at that length.
That's actually a tradition in the Cuban handbook. That's actually a traditional size.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Hermoso number 1 or Hermoso number 2. I can't remember the size, but it resembles one very closely. It's in the Cuban handbook, though.
Yeah, it's got a great feel to it. I really enjoy it. I said I haven't smoked this for a few years, and I picked this one up in Arizona at Ambassadors from Vartan out there. And there's one that they were holding off. They got a great stash of stuff out there. And so I picked this one up, so it's awesome. I'm really enjoying it, and I think that's what Matthew's smoking. Nicole, what did you light up tonight?
I have the El Triumphador. I think I said that right. Maybe wrong.
Yeah, you could. That's how us gringos say it. Actually, El Triumphador.
That's me.
But Cubans, they would. Well, actually, if you want to say it in the Spanish language, it'd be El Triunfador. And if you really want to say it like a Cuban person, it's El Triunfador. So it's really how you pronounce it.
All right.
There goes John's audio.
I think it's his tiki torch that's like blown in the wind.
He has a train that goes by because he's at he's not at his normal location, so he's at his special friend's house, and there's a train that goes by every 10 minutes while we're on the show.
Yeah, it's the Florida
Special
Sunrail.
friend.
Yeah, special friend. We refer to her as the lady friend. And for those watching at home, we do have an addition at the bottom of the screen today. I have added UP, the useless pup. Jonathan is now featured on my name pad here. But Pete, what are you smoking? You were telling us earlier, and
I'm actually smoking. So, in Miami, they found these boxes sitting stashed away forever, and these were the original prototype boxes that I rejected of the Pudgy Monsters that came out in 2014. The crazy thing is, the reason why I rejected it, the box itself was great, but the order of the cigars was out of order completely. So I had to correct them, but they left all these sample boxes in Miami, and just last year during COVID, they were cleaning, and they're like, "Oh, we found all this cool stuff." So I have this box full of rad, old, random things, including cigars I made for Kevin Jonas's baby. People.
So Pete, there's
so I'm
smoking on the show.
I'm smoking a Jason from the Pudgy box.
So that's great.
Story to get there, right?
Awesome. What's the cigar?
I forgot that he still hadn't even told us.
I did. I'm smoking a Jason from the Pudgy box.
Well, I thought this was going to be like the White House press secretary. We'll get back around to that. We'll follow up.
Circle back to that.
Circle back around.
We'll have to circle back to that.
I actually used that. I used that on someone the other day for an event they wanted to do. I go, I'll have to circle back to you on that. I cracked myself up with it, but I don't think they got it.
So as I was saying, we've had a couple of guests on the show as of recently who have mentioned your name in kind of an interesting way. I've had some people talk about how you were kind of
interesting way, like a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
Or a bad way.
Don't worry. No one has said anything negative about Pete Johnson. All right.
Well, there's enough of it out there, so you might as well.
Yeah, you've been around long enough now to have something negative, right?
Oh, Jesus. There's too much of it, actually.
But specifically, one that comes to mind was actually Matt Booth from Room 101, who, if I remember correctly, I can't remember. I don't know if I'll quote him exactly, but he said something along the lines of, we were talking about when he got started with his cigar line and kind of how he came into the scene. And he said, well, one of the biggest things was there was a man named Peter Johnson, who kind of opened the door for smaller people like me to come in and have my brand be known, because I guess a lot of people have said this to me too. You were kind of what's the word I'm looking for right now? A revolutionary?
Yeah, you were the lead on. You were really the lead on alternative. And he referred to it as alternative lifestyle.
Alternative lifestyle brands or branding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. There were other companies that had came out way before Tatuaje came out. But when Tatuaje, there were boutique brands. But when I started Tatuaje in 2003, no one was coming out with new cigar brands, like new cigar companies. People thought I was absolutely crazy. But one thing that Matt didn't tell you, but we talk about it all the time when we do see each other. When he first came into the business, I actually didn't like him.
Oh, I heard that story.
That.
Oh, we know that story.
Not like him, like to the point where I was like kind of on the defense with him. I didn't know him, and I only got like validation because like there were friends of ours, mutual friends of ours, that were like, "No, dude, he's a good guy." And then I hung out with him. I was like, "Okay, I like the guy." We became friends. But
I was told by I won't mention any names, but I was told by someone who was also on the show. Like I had to tell Matt Booth, like, you need to shut off your filming and go over to that guy over there. His name's Pete Johnson from Tatuaje, and you need to like introduce yourself, because right now he's your enemy and they don't like you. And that's what he did. And then I was told like it was like within like a day, like him and like Pete Johnson were best friends.
Oh yeah, he came over to my office in Los Angeles, and we were like tight after that, like super quick.
Yeah,
I think it was like I'm really defensive of this business in general, and I've kind of followed the path of the people that came before me, and watched great people rise up in this industry that really deserve it, that worked their asses off, like Lito Gomez, like the Fuente family, like the Garcias. So when I see a new person coming in, I want to make sure that they're not slinging shit or selling false goods to the consumers. I want them to be
100%.
dead straight and honest about what they're doing, and also what they're putting into the cigar. Like don't try to romance the crap out of something when there's a dozen guys that came out before you that can easily call bullshit on you.
Yeah.
There was a time, Jesus Fuego, another cigar guy, John knows who he is. We started like complaining about all these people that were coming in the business, and we're like, and then some people were like, their marketing strategies were like all over the place, and they were kind of like being really loose about what the tobacco was and romancing the hell out of it to make it sound better than it really is. And Jesus and I were like, let's go on a no bullshit tour. We were gonna like do like the Onion of cigars. We wanted to call everybody's bullshit out, but then I realized that I couldn't, because everybody would hate me for it. So I just really love the industry, and I want people to be, straight with the people that are paying a lot of money to smoke the cigars.
Well, it's interesting
You won't get bullshit out of Lito Gomez. Like you won't get bullshit out of a guy like that.
And it's funny that you kind of bring that up, because it's different for us, obviously. You being a brand, you're someone who's putting out the actual cigars. We've had this conversation with some of our peers on like our side of this, in terms of like the media and like the shows, and like there's been a lot of people who've come in and been like, I'm doing a show, or I'm cigar media, even like with the trade shows. And they're just here because they want to be like, oh, I want to meet Pete Johnson and do a video with him, and like that would be cool. And they want to fangirl, or they want to go to the trade shows and they just want to get free stuff. And then there's the people like us who are like, no, like we're here to be professional and do this the right way. We want to actually work hard and have a good reputation, and we want to put out good content, good entertainment that people are going to enjoy. It's like kind of like the same thing. Like I totally can relate to you on that.
You got validated instantly when you brought Carney into the room.
My stock went through the roof. It was like
You know-
GameStop that day when it.
Seriously, it was they were buying low and selling high.
Yeah, it was like the
Demand was very low.
GameStop spike.
I'm
John
actually
Carney's
a
on the
little
show.
jealous because Nicole's drinking wine, and I don't have anything in front of me. So
I have some rosé. I don't know what type, but
no,
French.
I mean, it's one of those things about the industry. For me, like, don't come in and be a scam artist. Tell it like it is. You know, don't tell the people, oh, I'm using this special wrapper from Jalapa and it's a rosado. I'm like, okay, you just told me nothing. You told me that it's from Jalapa and it's the color of pink or rosado. What seed varietal is it? You know, what priming of the leaf is. I mean, this is all stuff that we can tell people without really giving away too many secrets. It's real simple. And when they leave out a lot of information, it's almost like they're using a lot of words to tell a story that they just told no story of. If you could understand any of that.
Right.
They add on like 10 words past the cigar name to romance the hell out of the cigar itself, but they didn't really tell you anything about the cigar.
And it's funny because when we had Matt Booth on, I can't remember if like I asked him or someone in the chat might have asked him. Someone asked him something about like where his cigar was made. And he was like, "Brah, who fucking cares where it was made? It's a cigar. Smoke it. Doesn't matter."
And then you called him out. You called him out because you were sitting in your attic and it was like 30 degrees about the wrapper coming off.
Whoa.
Live on the air.
Whoa. That was a joke that he took seriously, I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell with him sometimes.
No, I thought it was beautiful. But it was funny going back to what Matt was saying, what we were discussing with, I think the branding of your cigar in terms of the name Tatuaje, your image as a musician, Rockstar thing, alternative, that's alternative, but the brand itself is very authentic, traditional. Like the more I've learned about it over the years, sizes, shapes, names, bands, and play into a bit where that came into your mind, where you want to take that alternative but make it traditional at the same time.
Well, I mean, my whole first thing is that when I wanted to come out with a cigar brand, I wanted to make my own version of a Cuban cigar brand, and I kind of mapped out the book. I looked at the encyclopedia of Cuban cigars. I mean, that's part of that's in my head from being in the industry for 28 years. I love the tradition part of it, and I respect the older guys in the industry. But when someone asks me like, "What are you going to call it?" I go, I don't know yet. Like I had a few ideas, had a couple very traditional names, and then I remembered for one brief moment, even though it was a nickname that people gave me in the industry, and it was part of me. I didn't really think of it as a brand name, and it was Tatuaje, because people used to call me Tattoo Pete. So the Fuentes and the Lido and the Padrones, they would always refer to me as Tattoo Pete. And I was like, I asked a busboy at the Gran Habana, I said, what's the Spanish word for tattoo? And he goes, Tatuaje. I go, there you go, that's my brand name. And the Garcias, when they started making the cigars, Pepin went back to Miami, said, hey, we're making cigars for this kid in Los Angeles. He's calling the brand Tatuaje, and they were like, "What? Like, who calls a cigar Tatuaje?" And I walked into the room at the factory a few weeks later, and they saw me, and they're like, "Okay, yeah, now we understand. That's why he calls it Tatuaje." But to them, people with tattoos were like, in Cuba, people with tattoos are probably people that were in prison, so they were a little like, I don't know about this yet. But I think they appreciated my love for tradition, and I just wanted to put my own little flair to it. I was very big into a company called Chrome Hearts at the time, which is a jewelry company.
Okay.
And I loved their vibe, their style, and it was very rock and roll, which really fit me anyways because I own Chrome Hearts product. And I decided that I wanted to kind of meld the tradition with, quality and tradition with that kind of rock and roll lifestyle, which there's no change in me. I'm not going to get rid of these things. So
Yeah, I mean they're there. Now,
putting on a suit, Carney knows me getting in a suit is not an easy thing. I do rock a suit though. Like I can look good in them, but jeans and a t-shirt was where it's at.
yeah. It's like John's always talking about. Actually, did we talk about with Matt? It was the cigar uniform. Do you remember that conversation we had?
Yeah. I mean, you got to build in it to being comfortable. And then, the discussion was when you have a cigar uniform, you don't have to change. You bring one pair of jeans and maybe one shirt, and you bring two, so you can wear one on the way and then one on the way back, so you don't smell disgusting. And it's funny. The last year, like I've been wearing American flag Crocs, American flag stuff, and doing the cooking show. And now I've been walking to the shops, and I'm like, "What? No Crocs?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, I can get away with wearing Crocs now because people want to see this." So it's been interesting, but yeah, the cigar uniform is really interesting.
Well, I called it. I told my accountant that it was wardrobe because to me it's no different than John Bon Jovi getting up on stage and singing to 10,000 people. He has wardrobe that he goes up on stage with. Every time I walk into a cigar store, I need to have a black pair of jeans, a black T-shirt, maybe a black sweatshirt, and a black pair of shoes. That's my cigar uniform. So when I packed for our tour that we did, our bus tour that we did, I literally had 10 sets of the exact same thing. And that became my clothing. Like that was my wardrobe. Like, it's a good way to write it off too.
Because Pete, I mean, your ads are in like every magazine and whatnot. Everyone kind of knows that classic ad of you of Tatuaje, the black and white photo. And yeah, it's like you in all black. You're like the man in black. That's your style. And that's your cigar uniform.
The flannel.
If you showed up in white, they'd be like, "What the fuck is Pete Johnson doing here in all white?" It makes no sense.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. The only time I showed up in white were to like the white night parties that they had at the pro cigar festivals.
Hmm.
And that was like the struggle of like, oh my god, I don't have anything white. I got to go to the store and buy things in white. Not easy, by the way.
So the brand being an alternative brand and then being more traditional in what it is. What cigar over the last, I guess you're almost 15 years now.
18.
18, yeah. Crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. Over that period of time, what cigar that you produce represents you as a cigar smoker, a cigar maker, and a person the most? What one do you relate to the most?
I think really everything stems back to the first one. I mean, the traditional Tatuaje brown label or the Selection de Cazador that we make here in Miami, and we make a few newer sizes in Nicaragua, but all the originals are still made here in Miami. That's where everything stems from, and that's what we identify the brand behind. And honestly, I know that blend so well that it's one of those things that I can take that and dissect it up or down and get different results and find a new blend out of there. So it's really the root of everything.
Now you have gained the reputation of being someone who's one of those brands who just releases all these oddities and unobtainiums and one-offs and special stuff. You got like your skinny monsters, your all that weird stuff that you make. That's just cool and it's fun. And people like me who love to get into that shit think it's great. At what point did you kind of get that idea to be like, oh, I want to release like crazy releases, like small quantities, limited, maybe odd sizes and shapes and names? And I feel like a lot of people who know Tatuaje, like you were saying, your brown line was being your traditional line, but I feel like you've built this reputation of a lot of people go, well, Pete Johnson, Tatuaje, they make like crazy stuff. So at what point do you kind of say, I want to be a little different and I want to create these crazy items?
Well, I was doing like some small batch projects for individual stores of oddities, but they were very traditional names and traditional packaging. And then in 2007, a buddy of mine, I was in his store. It actually doesn't exist anymore, but it was in Boston on right off of Newbury Street. It's called Gloucester Street Cigars. This guy named Jose was one of the partners in that store, and he was a big sneakerhead. Like he was huge into sneakers. I was into sneakers, but I didn't collect them. I just wore them. You know, like if they were funky, I'd buy them and wear them. At the time, there was a store around the corner from Gloucester Street called Johnny Cupcakes, and they were doing limited edition T-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
And I thought the marketing behind Johnny Cupcakes was amazing, but I was kind of trying to find something to do. And Jose said, you should start something with a theme, like a theme cigar. And I was working on a thing called Rivals that I never came out with. And fast forward, someone else actually used the name Rivals for a project. But the Rivals thing was basically taking all these great sports teams that have rivalries and not so much. I was very, very careful with packaging and making sure that I didn't step on trademarks. Making sure that you could tell that it was the Boston Celtics because of the colors on the box, and you could tell it was the Lakers because of the colors on the box, but there was no NBA logo on there, anything. It was just going to be the band colors mimicking the brands of these great teams. And it was that year that the Celtics and the Lakers actually made it to the finals, and I didn't do the project. So, but Jose's like, you got to do something like with a theme. And I was like, dude, I don't know. He goes, dude, see, Nike's got like these theme cigars that come out. I mean, shoes they come out with all the time. And he pulled out a pair of Frankenstein Nikes. And the word monsters got into my head. I was like, there you go. And within literally an hour, I had already mapped out the first monster, how it was going to be packaged, how many cigars were going to be in the box. And that was like the start of my real nightmare, because the Monster series became my own nightmare. It was just one of those things that caught fire. The first year, no one wanted it. No one cared about it. All the other cigar makers that I knew were like, are you crazy? You're going to put cigars in a coffin-shaped box? I go, well, cigars come in coffins. This just happens to look like, you know, a Monster's coffin. And the next year, that's when it took off completely.
Yeah. Nicole had sent me a note here. Sorry, I got all distracted. The show notes. We're trying to follow the show notes. John would be proud. Yeah, and it's funny is Tatuaje is a brand. I've spoken to you about this privately. Tatuaje is a brand that's always been on my radar, and even with my years of smoking cigars and being involved in it, Tatuaje is one that I just never really had tackled yet. As I kind of went around and just tried to like absorb everything, and it's a newer one for me. Not that I had never heard of it. I'd known it. I'd smoked Tatuaje before, but it's a brand that I'm like really getting myself into now and learning the lines. And one of my local shops is a huge Tatuaje retailer, and that's Twins.
Yeah,
Kurt. Kurt's a huge Tatuaje guy, and that's been one of my favorite places to go and really get into Tatuaje because he has such a great collection. And there's so many things to learn there. And along my journey, and I know that you had just announced, so I guess this is kind of appropriate, but there is a cigar that you had made that I think was previously a one-off. I remember.
He froze.
I remember reading on.
I can see everybody else.
Yeah, you're good. We're still good. If he freezes for too long, I'll step in.
He's good.
Did I freeze?
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But you're
All
good.
right.
You're good.
So there was a cigar that I read about, and it was called the T101 or the T110?
T110.
T110.
It was made originally in 2000. Wow, 8 or 9. I know it's been a long time since we've come out with it.
And it's a cigar that I've always wanted to try. And because based on that review, it was hailed as, if I remember reading this correctly, it's been a while, but if I remember reading this correctly, and I think Charlie Minato himself actually did this review, and he said it was one of the strongest cigars he had ever smoked. And I believe he said he started getting the sweats as he smoked that cigar.
Yeah, it's a pretty punchy cigar, and actually Fausto is loose. Well, it's not loosely based off. Fausto's based off of the T110. But the difference with Fausto is that the wrapper on Fausto is actually a little higher priming than the T110. And originally, I made the joke. I made the joke early on to someone that it's basically all Ligero. And someone took that verbatim, but it's not. It's actually all higher priming tobaccos, so high Visos and Ligeros. but it's definitely not an all Ligero cigar. But yeah, you're kind of smoking it with the Fausto, but there is a slight difference, and you'll notice that when it comes out.
I'm telling you, man, there's still a ton of strength on this cigar.
Oh yeah.
And for people that talk about front forward spice as being front of the palate spice as being under fermented, which this is a perfect example if it's not. This is just front forward spice on the palate. That front 2/3. I'm surprised after almost 9 years, over 10 years now, practically on this one. That the strength on. I mean, this is a full-bodied cigar right now.
Yeah, you're talking about the under-fermented thing. The under-fermented thing is a classic cheat in the cigar industry. When people want to fake strength, they just grab a really young leaf and put it inside the blend, and that's how they can kick up the strength levels. But I think when you use, well-processed tobacco that's clean, ready to go, it's easy to make a great strong cigar that's well balanced because the tobacco is complete.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to derail the conversation because it is a great one, but I just realized we do have to hit our news segment really quick because I was not watching the time. Our news segment is brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. McAuliffe Cigars, if you're not an ambassador, you should sign up today, get your tasting passport, go through the whole entire McAuliffe line, including the McAuliffe A, which is one of my personal favorites. Send your passport in, join the club, join the fun. We love our friends over at McAuliffe. One of the things we wanted to talk about was, trade shows for this year have been a conversation. They've both been greenlit. There a go. People are going. And one of the things that came out this week was a list of a bunch of people who were not attending TPE. And kind of on a flip side of that, we've also had some conversations, a couple people on the show, some of it, kind of off the air or whatever, of people who are going to TPE, but for that reason won't be going to PCA, formerly known as IPCPR. Because of the gap in between. And John, me and you talked about this a little bit earlier as we were kind of preparing for the show.
The most interesting thing this week was, the media outlets there, especially on the social side of it, they are creating news. So there was an article this week that was put out where there was a list of people who had confirmed that they were going to TPE and now were backing out. And there was others that were added to that list. I think it's up to about 10 people now. And that's interesting because that shows in May. Which is, a few months before the PCA show. But it's still something to note that there are people backing out of the TPE, and, it'll be interesting to see what's going on there. And I don't know, Pete, I don't know if you go to TPE or is it something you've done in the past?
We went last year. Not last year, but
2019.
The 2020. 2020 was in the early part of the year. Right?
Yeah,
it was late January, early February. It was the weekend before the shutdowns.
Yeah, it was in January. No,
it was the week right before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, we went. Casey and Dan actually managed the booth. I actually had to show up for a day because I found out I was getting an award, so I had to go. But we had plans to be at this one also, but we had backed out last year because of as soon as they changed the dates the first time, we're like, it's conflicting for us, so we have to back out. I think the first list that Half Wheel had put out was actually talking about the brands who backed out just this week. Like they were supposed to be going and they literally just backed out. We in turn, both the Garcias and myself, we I think it was sometime in October or November, we said, yeah, we can't go. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm actually, I prefer to support the PCA myself just because I know the work that goes into putting the PCA together, but I also know where a lot of money goes to help brick and mortar retailers with problems they're having with state legislation and stuff like that. So I prefer to support the organization that's giving back to the industry.
Which is interesting because I think it was recently you made headlines because you donated, was it $10,000 to the PCA? just as a contribution to fund. And they've they've been in a tough place. There was no trade show for them last year, and there was furloughs and layoffs within that team, which is tough to see. But with nothing going on last year, that was really tough for them. So it was really nice to see people like yourself, still trying to keep them, contributing to them and trying to help them, keep their ship going.
Well, we're trying to come up with as many ideas as possible to keep the organization moving forward. I'm glad to see that there's some new board members that are going to be popping back in or popping on the board that have never served before, because now you're getting more. I'm seeing more people getting involved, which is great. Honestly, like when I did that contribution, I had plans to give them a contribution with a kickback from a cigar, but the cigar wasn't going to be ready until mid-year. So I figured, I'll do something now. And then there was another small manufacturer, brand owner, Eddie Terrazona Cigars, who stepped up with the same dollar amount contribution. And I every time I'm on one of these things, we start the conversation, I praise the fact that he did that, because, he's not a big company. He's a small family-owned brand, and for him to donate that much money was a big deal.
Yeah, a lot of respect there.
It was, and it was kind of, it was, I think it was surprising to a lot of people, and it was, he really put his money where his mouth was with it, and it was huge. And I think we need more of that. And and that was huge.
Absolutely.
And I've always, Eddie's always been a really good guy, but he has a small, almost regional type brand, and to jump in and do that. And I hope there's retailers that support his brand, support it more, and continue to be behind those types of things, because that is a big deal and something that's important.
Yeah, I mean, dude, so the CRA has this thing that they've always kind of promoted, but I don't think they promoted it good enough. But they're like, support the brands that support you. And if you look at the CRA alone, there's like a good 14 manufacturers that are actually pumping in a lot of money to the organization to pay all the legal bills for the whole industry. Not only are they giving money, but they're giving cigars for these packs that the CRA is selling to raise money just to pay the legal bills for the whole industry. And the crazy part is that these are the companies that don't really need to do it, because they have all the grandfathered predicate product. They're actually paying the bills for the companies that are new and just started. And the reality is those new brands that just started in the last 4, 5, 6 years that need the support from organizations like the PCA and the CRA, they should be kicking in money, because I know they're making a lot of money from the industry.
So when you attend PCA this year, do you have, I know, John, you can probably speak to this too, being with, a manufacturer, there's usually, I know not everyone does it, but a lot of times people will do exclusives for people who attend the show, specials and whatnot. Are you going to do anything be a little extra special this year? Oh, I can already see him grinning. He has something up his sleeve.
No,
you froze. You froze.
Damn it.
Are you sitting right, very close to your wife or your girlfriend, and are you not don't you have the similar Wi-Fi?
Yeah, we're on the same network. It's weird.
Nicole's perfectly fine.
Keeps jumping.
Yeah, she was in on the joke.
What it is? A laptop.
So the question,
I like it. She's not doing anything, but she's sitting back sipping on the rosé, going, "Oh, this is classic." Do I have
what are your plans for the PCA in regards to that? Do you have plans with another cigar with some kickbacks, or what's the deal?
John, I mean, honestly, I'm sure. I can only speak for myself and probably my wife, her company. We're going to go very bare bones to the show. We don't know how it's going to be, obviously, but we're going to go bare bones, and I'm not going to waste the time and popping up my booth that cost me a ton of money to put up every year. I'm going to take the booth spaces that I have, maybe put down the carpet that we use, because it has the branding on it, and then put furniture in the space that we have allotted. I'm not going to bother putting up the monstrosity because it doesn't make sense. Not this year. It makes sense moving forward, but not this year. But I have some things planned, and the whole key was to have cigars ready for the people that were going to attend the show. Do I believe that there will be a show? I don't know. I'm still on the fence that there will actually be a show, even though they've come out and said, "Oh, it's on." You got to remember, they have to say that it's on, because if they start promoting that we're not having it, and everybody starts going, "Okay, we're not going to the trade show," if the casino that is supplying the trade show convention floor doesn't do what their job that they're supposed to do, then we have an out. Because the reality is that not everybody wants to travel right now. Still, I mean, we're still stuck in this whole mystery world that we're living in. And I think that the attendance is going to be pretty slim. And I think the TPE is going to be the first test. I mean, you're already seeing a proof right there that a bunch of people are bowing out at TPE. Let's see how many consumers and retailers go to the TPE.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting. It's going to definitely be a gauge. And, we mentioned earlier, it really is a different type of show. I mean, it's a for-profit association business putting it on, and then you have a non-profit association, PCA. And even with the PCA going on, I mean, TPE is going to be an idea because you're going to get to have some logistical stuff to see how the casinos worked and whatnot. But things won't be much different in July. There'll be more people vaccinated and whatnot, but there's still going to be restrictions. But I'm in the same boat. We're looking internally. How do we go to this show and scale it back to the point where it's financially makes sense for us, so we can still support what's going on and make the focus on the product, and then see where it goes from there. And everyone's got to be in the same boat. It's.
I don't think it's. I think everybody's thinking about that. Like, okay, we're going to go. If they have it, we're going. But will we all be there? No, we're going to bring a skeleton crew with us and have a streamlined booth situation, and we're going to be there to sell cigars to the people that show up. And we have stuff that's special for that purpose. So we have things already ready to go for that purpose.
Do you guys feel, in your opinion, that it's more people are just skeptical, or do you feel that there's more people who would rather go to one show versus the other because of the scheduling being so close together? Do you feel that there's still a lot of people who are like, well, like manufacturers and some of your peers who are like, well, I'd rather be going to the PCA show if going to both doesn't make sense, I'd rather put my eggs into the cigar show versus the tobacco show?
Yeah, I think the people I've talked to have been more in the thought process of like, I'm going to go to the latter one, because if there is still restrictions or any fear of traveling, I would rather wait to see how the world is working, 4 months from now instead of 2 months from now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say it's entirely more skepticism rather than one or the other. We've talked quite a bit about that. I think it's just sheer skepticism. It's a matter of, where are we going to be? Am I comfortable traveling? And what's the situation going to be? And it's not just comfort in terms of the virus. In my opinion, it's comfort in terms of, am I going to be inconvenienced when I get there because of restrictions on air travel or the hotels, check-in process, restaurants, bars, smoking? I think it's a lot of that. It's an uphill battle for an association to try to fight, especially in a time where they were challenged prior to COVID. Then you missed the entire 2020 year in fundraising schedule, and then you got this coming up. So, I think there's something to take from it. I think that PCA show maybe needs to scale back a little bit in 2022. With that, scale back, and then you grow, continue to grow up from there. So we'll see what happens. But I think it's just sheer skepticism rather than one or the other.
I think, this is just a personal opinion, but I've always looked at the PCA as like, okay, they tried to get, they got too big. and you probably agree with this, they got too big to the point of like they should have put restrictions on booth sizes a long time ago. And when you have one company that goes in and takes 100 booth spaces, if they leave the show, that's a lot of empty space on the show floor, right? So they should have said a long time ago, this is a comfort zone that we should stay to, and not be bid into this whole thing of like, oh, you got to let me buy 200 booth spaces. No, okay, they want to sell booths, right? But I think it's important for them to kind of stay at a certain level and be more focused and concentrated instead of trying to get too grandiose. That's why I would love to see a trade show in Tampa. I mean, it's Cigar Town right there. Everybody would be happy. A lot of the manufacturers and brand owners that live in Florida would love it. You have a few great cigar families that are up there already. We had a Tampa trade show years ago. It was okay. Back in 2001. But I think it's a way for the industry to scale down, and we could probably do it at a different time of the year too. Like January in Tampa would be awesome. So let's skip this year and just focus on January in Tampa.
I like it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned like the size of the show, and I've always broken it down. I said it's very simple. We're an arena industry trying to put on a show for a stadium.
Yeah.
Like we're not the Rolling Stones. So I've sat there and said I go to other shows. Like I go to the National Restaurant Association show. I used to go every year when my dad was on the board there. Coca-Cola doesn't have a booth the size of the top 5 booths at our trade show. Coke.
Yeah.
So if they don't need a booth that big and they don't need a show that big, now it's different. They're in everybody else's booths too because they're huge. But we're just too big. We're not the Rolling Stones. We're not Coca-Cola. That company by itself is bigger than our entire industry. So I've always been that too.
I know that.
Basic. yeah. But I guess that's our news segment, right?
That's
Yeah.
our news segment.
Oh, we were talking about news just there? I had no idea.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
The
We were
topics come
talking
up, and then
before
we
the
just.
show.
Yep.
We were talking this afternoon before the show, and I said, I go for the news segment. We should talk about the TPE announcements this week and the PCA portal that they have, the members portal. And I said, trust me, when we bring up one of these two things, we will get Pete to talk about this and be part of the news segment with us.
Dude, okay, so can we talk about the portal?
Yeah, let's talk
absolutely.
about the portal. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, but I think it was reported on incorrectly.
Okay.
What they're trying to do is offer. The whole goal is to drive people to the PCA's website, to drive members to the PCA's website so they can be aware of new things that are happening, maybe state legislation that's coming up. Educate the retailers as best as possible. So I've talked with them a lot about this, and I was like, let's put cigars up there. You're not selling them. You're just taking orders for us. And in turn, you're going to pass those orders to us, and we're going to ship them, and we're going to sell the product to the retailers. And then as that service that you're offering, we're going to give you some money back for doing that for us. But the great part about it, you just drove a lot of people, one, to be members of the PCA, and two, you drove people to your website. And that's the most important thing. So I think it's a great idea, a great platform. I think, any manufacturer, if they want to put a product up there, they can, as long as they're a good standing member of the PCA. And as long as they're willing to basically give the PCA commission for taking an order. That's how I look at it. It's the PCA is going to get a commission for taking the order for us. For me, it's going to be on product that's kind of, small batch. That way it becomes kind of very similar to the TA exclusive series. Have you noticed this year I didn't come out with a TA exclusive? I'm not doing one because my focus is on the PCA and the CRA.
Right. And John, I think, are you guys doing a TAA? Or
yeah, we're doing exclusive this year, but it was ours from last year. We
Okay.
never released the 2020 version, so we pushed that to 2021. But yeah, I like the members. I like the members portal. I think it's a great idea. It's driving traffic to the website. I've been watching a lot of discussion online, as I'm sure you've seen some of it too, Pete, where people are like, oh, this is a brick and mortar, and now they're promoting this online thing. No, they're promoting their members to be accessing products through a portal, which is essentially utilizing technology. And I think that's an area that the PCA needs to improve on. That's not been an area where there's been a lot of access for membership.
Dude, communication from all of our organizations in our industry has been horrible to the consumers and to the retailers. Like, just horrible. And we need to work that. We need to work on that. And the PCA for sure needs to work on it. And the CRA is doing the same thing. We're working on a whole new website for the CRA. So it's really important to educate your foundation.
Huge, and I think that's the best way to do it when you can have instant access, whether it's the product information, whatever it may be. So I didn't see that as on an online thing. And one thing we did see last year, and I've said this publicly to people that were on the PCA board, we found out last year how irrelevant the PCA show was. I'm not talking about the organization, just the show itself.
The show, yeah.
So, maybe that's a sign of, maybe you need to utilize some technology to get information out there and have other resources when we can't necessarily do these large shows. So you scale things back and scale things up in other areas to benefit and go with the times. So
I think it's important for the organization to work harder to benefit their members. And whether it's a manufacturing member or a retail member, they need to have a porthole that people can go into and literally find out all the answers they need to navigate through this FDA stuff. I mean, for the longest time, I've been trying to figure out, okay, how can we find out information on this? And you go to the FDA website and you can't really understand anything the FDA is talking about. But if it came from our organization and said, hey, you can click here and you can find out everything you need to do to navigate your way through this trying time that we're having with the FDA, it would have made me feel more comfortable as a member and want to be more active and more, participating in the whole thing a lot more by seeing that they're working hard to protect us.
So Michael Herklotz is actually watching along with us, and he actually just commented, which I think is important to kind of bring up. PCA is a trade association, not a trade show. Lots of work to do to fix this identity crisis.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, we've been talking on. The organization's very important. The show has become the crux, the crutch that we've been carrying around. It's kind of the flat tire. And I think that's huge, and saying the communications where the trade organization comes in, 100%.
Well, on that note, I'd like to change the topic and ask Pete a question about the Saint and Sinners Club.
Wow, yeah, I'm wearing a T-shirt right now.
You are?
It's
Sorry.
it's actually, the Saints and Sinners Club started 10 years ago. We're on our 11th year now, and we open memberships sometime around May, June for new members. We close it during the time. We open it for a month and then close it for the year. That way it gives us time to prepare member kits and the swag that we do for the members. The cool thing, for the last 2 years, I went straight to my members or our members of Saints and Sinners and said, I'm going to charge you $25 extra a year, but I'm going to send you a 2-pack of special cigars that are made exclusively for you. But all that money that we've raised from that portion, we're going to give it to the CRA. From Tatuaje and Saints and Sinners, we're going to give it to the CRA. And in the last 2 years, we've donated over $60,000 to the CRA to help pay the legal bills that need to be paid to a very expensive lawyer. So it's become a thing. The members are super generous. Aside from that, the membership, regardless of race, religion, and gender, I always say there's no gender to cigars. Cigars are for everybody. So you can't label a cigar for women or men. They're for everybody, right? But the great part about the club is that when a member is down, when a member is hurting, there's a big group in our group, in our membership, that goes to help them. And they're very charitable. They're very, very into the whole charity part of the organization. And I love it. I mean, it turned into something different. It was an avenue to promote the brands, and it turned into, like, I don't know, it turned into more, which I was really happy about.
Yeah, we first heard about it. From what I understand, Saints and Sinners Club is pretty exclusive to get into as well.
Well, we allow members to refer another member. The problem is, I just talked about how great with the charity aspect of the members are and how giving they are. They don't want to give away their referrals.
Well, so there's a shop around here that we shop at, and we have a friend there, and he's a part of the club, and he was telling us, like, yeah, like, I would totally refer you guys, but like, I already used my referral. And he's like, we only get like one or whatever. And
they
I
get
was
one
like,
a year.
one a year. And he was like, yeah, he goes, it's a pretty exclusive group. And we was like, well, Pete's coming on the show. And he's like, well, you should ask Pete about membership in the Saints and Sinners, because
I can send you a referral.
You get Pete's
I mean, that's the whole thing. Every year people are complaining on social media, Facebook, wherever, I can't get into the club. I'm like, did no one give you a referral? He goes, no, I can't find anybody that wants to give me a referral. And I always send them a private message, say, send me your email address. I'll have the guys from the office send you a referral. So, I mean, we're not trying to keep people out. We just want to have the right people in.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because even we were talking about Matt Booth earlier, and he has his own kind of secret club too with the Shadow Army, and
soldier.
Yeah, my lighter that I just got. Yeah, so it's funny because I was like, oh, I'm like, and kind of before I heard about Saints and Sinners, that had just kind of come on my radar, and we were talking to him about it, and he was like, oh yeah, the Shadow Army, and he was very vague on it, and as he likes to speak, which is half the fun of talking to Matt Booth. And then we found out, oh well, Pete Johnson has a club too, the Saints and Sinners Club, and I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. He goes, it's pretty exclusive. So
we have 16. I think we have close to 1,700 members now.
Pete, what year is this? What year is this to the Saints and Sinners? It's been going on for quite a while now.
Yeah, dude, we're in our 11th year. So
now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I heard it correctly. Originally, when you came up with the concept, it was supposed to be just a very small group, and then it turned into just being more and more and more. But it was originally intended to be very, very small.
It was intended to be small, and then we started. Well, originally when we started, we had 300-400 members, and we said, we thought to ourselves, like, we should probably cap it at a certain number. But every year we would watch people trying to get in, and it was just more and more and more. And we're like, our people aren't in the business of disappointing people. Like, you don't want to disappoint people. So we opened it up, but we did it with the referral process. It actually works great because it usually is someone that wants to get in, and they have a friend that's in, they get the referral from the friend. But I'm always very easy to give the referrals.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like I said before, our friend at our local shop was like, yeah, I can't refer you, but I mean, if you're gonna have Pete on the show, I mean, that would be the person to ask. So I was like, okay. So it was funny that came up.
Are you low-key asking for a referral, Matthew?
No. I was just told to bring it up. I took some advice, and that's what I did. I like.
Well,
to take advice.
sometime in May, send me a private message on Facebook with your email addresses, and I'll send them off to the guys at the office to send you a link.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I'm lucky. I have unlimited referrals.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we track everybody, though. Here's the key. We track all the referrals. So if there ends up being a member that ends up being a problem, we were able to find out who referred them. so far I have a pretty good record. I have no bad people that I've referred.
So there's no bad eggs. That's good.
No bad eggs. There's a few bad eggs in the club, but they weren't referred by me. So I'm just saying that.
What was I gonna say? Actually, John, I was gonna ask you because it looks like you're a little bit further along. You're actually pretty close to the end of that cigar. How's that cigar burning on you?
It's been perfect. It's been really, really good. It's burned perfect. The flavor on it's been awesome. That's really good. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Churchill was always my favorite size, for longer cigars. So I really like this six and whatever, the short Churchill essentially, but not. I guess the short Churchill is what people call the short little 48, but I mean this is a shorter Churchill. No, it's very good, man.
It's weird because the word short Churchill had no rhyme or reason of what size it was. The first time I ever heard the word short Churchill was actually applied to a Robusto out of Cuba, an old brand called Floridicano, and they had a short Churchill, and it was a Robusto. I don't know why they called it that, but whatever, right? I actually came out with a short Churchill based off of the longer Churchill we make in Miami, and it's like a 4 3/4 version of the 7-inch one.
Pete, when you got into cigars, the manufacturers, we started Tatuaje, and you kind of touched on this a little bit here and there.
Let me touch on one thing before you say anything.
Yeah,
I don't manufacture anything. I'm a brand owner that has a vision and an idea of what I need and what I want in cigars, and I put together blends that the Garcia family puts together for me, and they manufacture. I don't do the work that they do, and I don't do the work that Lito Gomez does, or any of these guys that actually are in the factory every day. I'm in the factory a lot, but those are the guys that should take a lot of the praise because they're the ones day after day working their asses off to make sure that my vision becomes a reality.
Did I say manufacturer? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you in that guy.
It's okay. No, you know what? It's big that you say that, Pete, and you've always been real humble about that. And I think that's, you're very much hands-on, even more than any other brand owner or somebody blending. You actually do work blends. You try the tobacco. You know what you're doing, and they really do see your vision. But I will say one of the more irritating things that's out there, and I'm sure it bothers you too, as you brought it up. We'll go to multi-vendor events, and they'll be like, "We want to thank all the manufacturers that were here today." And I'm looking around, and I'm like, "There's like 3."
Yeah.
And the fact that you, being the size you are as a brand owner and a blender, and as you say that, I mean, that's a really reputable thing, and I think something that people need to recognize, that the humbleness coming from you in that regard, because it would be very easy for you to say, hey, we're a manufacturer, this and that, and I'm sure the Garcias would be supportive of you in that, and you don't, and you have the opportunity, and you're just as qualified as many of those, almost all of them are. So I think that's a really nice thing and very humbling.
Yeah, well, they give me a lot of freedom. So like, it's not my building, but they let me walk through it like I own it. So I don't even work with Jaime and Pepin most of the time. I work with the chief of production, and I go straight to him to get the tobaccos that I need and the blend that I want to put together. It's a fine line that I don't cross over because, again, it's still not my place, but they let me play in that playground. Jaime has a good saying that, he didn't come to this industry to play. He came to make history. And I always joke that I come down here to play.
What? Freeze? Did I freeze? I
I
saw Pete freeze, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, I'm sure. Right now, it's showing that I have full signal, but I think I'm gonna get a hub and plug a Ethernet cable in next time.
Yeah,
just in
I don't
case.
know. Those old MacBooks, they'll get you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
what I was gonna say before was when you got into the industry. I know that you're on record of saying that you had a huge influence, and it kind of goes with you were saying a little bit before, you had a huge influence in like that classic Cuban cigar kind of vibe, and that was kind of
Louis
like what
Carney?
you wanted. There he is. Yeah, no, I saw him.
I
There we
was
go.
sneezing.
Oh, you didn't want to share that with us?
Nope.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad. That would have been good entertainment. Wouldn't have been the first time, like that soap review you did outside. Well, you must have
That was a
sneezed like
special.
3 times.
That was a special moment.
You were also, I think you were kind of half in the bag on the wine that night too.
I
He was, he had a sneeze attack. I remember that. He couldn't even get through that soap review.
awful.
And you also robbed Pete of a soap review tonight. I'm very disappointed. Out of all the people, I mean, he's a guy who would have loved that.
Well, now I was interested. I was super interested because I didn't know this was a thing. So
you know, the reason I didn't do a soap review is because we were fortunate to have you on here, and I didn't want to take away from what we were doing. So you haven't had a soap review. Cynthia Fuente didn't get a soap review. We did hit Nick Perdomo with one though.
Yeah.
Really?
But we had Nick on for like 2 hours practically. I mean, that was before we had unlimited time at that point in time. We just would go forever. So I did hit Nick Perdomo with a soap review. But no, respect for time. I wanted to, didn't want to make it about the soap. But, we can do a special one for you sometime. We'll dedicate it to you.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, we'll write that down. It'll be dedicated for Pete, and we'll make sure we get that to you.
Well, you got it
not
today, so you could have done it.
I did. I actually did. I did get a good bar of soap. It was Kiehl's. It was a scrubbing bar. Anyway, doesn't matter.
And that's why we didn't do the soap review tonight.
Yeah, it was funny.
I love
when
it.
Matt Booth got it, and Matt Booth saw it, and then he was like, "Oh, hold on!" And he like ran to his guest bathroom and he grabbed his own soap. I forget what it was. Was it It was something about your haters.
Yeah.
It was like to wash. It was actually called like the hater soap, and it was like to wash the hate away. And he like read the whole thing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and he's like, I keep it in my guest bathroom, so if there's any hate, they can wash it off during my house.
Michael said he didn't get a soap review either.
Oh shit, that's right.
Cardi, you're slacking.
Well, to be fair,
that episode was the road to the Super Bowl. And that was our traveling episode. That was us en route to the Super Bowl, Smokin Tabacco on its way to the Super Bowl. So no, he didn't get a soap review. He could have had one if we got on a little earlier.
How about that Tom Brady, huh?
Oh, beautiful.
I mean, there's a lot of people in New England that hate the fact that he got it, but I love it.
I mean, it's a perfect time to get into our sports segment by Nova Cigars.
Actually, yeah, it is. That was a great segue. Look at that. Pete brought us right into it.
So, yeah, Tom Brady was great. We're not going to get too into sports today, but we're going to make Nova big, right? # make Nova big.
Yep.
But, yeah, Tom Brady. The funniest thing I saw today was a great meme, and this is where I'll leave it with sports. It was a great meme. It says, now with a new 17-game season, Tom Brady's going to stay in the league for another 15 years to make sure nobody breaks any of his records, which I wouldn't put it past. And the guy's going to play till he's 50, easily.
Crazy.
Pete, actually, so we'll ask you since we're here.
Yeah.
You've lived in LA, you live in Miami, you're from Maine.
Yeah.
So what teams do you follow?
Okay, the Red Sox, obviously.
Okay.
Right
Red
answer.
Sox, obviously.
That's the right answer.
But you got to remember, I live in a Cuban household where everybody is a Yankee fan.
Oh.
And you know the whole root of the why Cuban people love the Yankees?
Why?
Because Fidel Castro and his regime told them they were supposed to hate Americans, the Yankees. They were supposed to hate the Yankees. So the Yankee team became their love. So that's why so many Cubans love the Yankees. So I have a constant debate
like they were
about
sticking
the Red
to
Sox.
Castro?
Yeah, that was their secret way of sticking it to Castro.
Our resident Cuban in the chats will have to chime in, even though he's from California, Orlando. Shout out to you. Happy birthday, by the way. But is this true? Is this true? And is Orlando a Yankees fan?
I don't think he is, but I wanted to chime in.
He might be a Dodgers. The Dodgers were also another team that the Cuban people followed.
Okay.
I lived in England for 7 years, and my mother's originally Irish, and Irish people love the Red Sox, and British people just took on loving the Yankees in fight with Ireland, essentially. So if you go there, you're like, why the hell is everyone like Red Sox, Yankees? They don't actually watch it, but they'll wear the gear, and you're just all confused, like all over the
Yeah.
place.
So sports, Red Sox. I was a Celtics fan when I grew up. Obviously, huge John Havlicek fan. Right, old Celtics, Larry Bird. And then when I moved to LA, I became a Laker fan when Dennis Rodman joined the Lakers briefly, because I was following Dennis Rodman's career, and I was a Bulls fan, and then became a Laker fan because of Rodman. And then I became a Kobe fan and a Shaq fan. And when LeBron James joined the LA Lakers, I instantly became an anti-Laker fan.
Interesting.
Because I can't stand LeBron James.
I'm in that boat with you too. I'll give that to you.
I need that soap that Matt Booth has to wash away the hate, because I just don't like LeBron James. But I think, obviously I was a Patriots fan. Why can't you be? And then as soon as Brady, dude, you gotta love Brady. So I was very happy when Tampa Bay won. Hockey, obviously I grew up in Maine, so obviously the Bruins. But then we also had a team called the Maine Mariners, which was the farm team for the Flyers. So I was a little bit of a Flyers fan, and then the New Jersey Devils, because all of my relatives were from Jersey. Blackhawks, of course. Hockey is all over the place, though, because it's a fun sport. I don't watch it a lot, but man, I had a purple and gold Kings jersey when I was a kid. Where'd that come from? I don't know, but I used to love it. So hockey was all over the place. I just loved the sport, but I could never play it. I was good at street hockey.
That was probably one of the best, if not the best, response to that question I think we've had on the show from our guest. Probably because it hit a lot of the right notes. But maybe we're just being biased here. But that was definitely a good response.
I will say that I tend to pick a team that's doing well, and I'll go, if they make it to the Super Bowl, I'm going to root for them. Or if they make it to the the World Series, I'm going to root for them. Unless it's the Yankees.
Yeah,
I just will not root for the Yankees.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just like watching I like watching the best at their sport be the best. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch teams be good. Like I've been watching the Dallas Mavericks recently because they got that guy Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
He's just really fun to watch. He's like 22 years old and the guy's a stud. So like I tend to find myself rooting for him. I like to see people who are great at things be successful. It's fun to watch success. I don't get too uptight about people being successful or jealous. It's fun.
I became a Mavericks fan because I didn't want LeBron James to win a championship. Like things like that.
I guess that's a good reason.
There's a few petty reasons why I follow a team. It usually has to do with hate for another team.
Yeah, and recently, the last 20 years, LeBron James.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stand. Like, is LeBron James a good basketball player? Yes, obviously he has
absolutely.
success, on paper. But do I like his attitude? And do I like? Nah, he's always annoyed me. And I know there's people who love him, but I'm not one of those people.
I'm not one of those people. I'll keep Kobe over him every day of the week. And who can't like Michael Jordan?
That's a whole other conversation.
He's the GOAT. You can't give LeBron the GOAT status. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Tom Brady's the GOAT. Here's another one. Mahomes, great football player, amazing football player. I was actually want him going up against Brady. I was happy that Brady took him to school, but I was also worried that Mahomes, the new kid, would come in, beat Brady. But that was also my pet peeve with this whole Super Bowl. People were like, oh, if he beats Brady, he goes. I go, no, he's not even close to being at Brady's status and that level. Just because he won, 2 Super Bowls, or he won one Super Bowl, maybe a second one, doesn't make him better than Tom Brady.
Yeah, it puts him 1/6 of the way there. Now 1/7. So it's interesting to watch it. But yeah, I like watching great stuff. And the thing with LeBron, I think we've talked about this on the show, and I've said it a couple times. LeBron's played in an era where we get to hear his opinions and points of view almost instantly. Mm-hmm. And when Jordan and Bird, you look at those two guys, they were egos, probably bigger than LeBron's, but we never got to hear their opinions. It was always in traditional media, traditional interviews. And it was really easy to deflect that. But like after a game, LeBron does an interview and then he goes on Twitter, and he gives an opinion about everything. And it's just a really different dynamic. And there's a lot more polarizing polls on these athletes nowadays, where I think if it was 30, 40 years ago when LeBron was playing, probably like, oh man, LeBron's the best ever, man. This guy's great. But then we get to hear his opinions and you form a personal view on, his arrogance or whatever it may be, political points of views, all sorts of different things. Where with a guy like Jordan, you never really got to hear that. And I think he's generally a little bit more guarded with his personal opinions and views too, because he's at an entirely different level. But you look at these athletes, we get to hear their opinions all the time.
Jordan always stayed away from it, though. Mm-hmm. He's like, I play basketball. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. Not a politician. I'm, not a, whatever, an evangelist of any kind. Like, I play basketball, and I'm going to talk to you about, but I'm not going to talk to you about politics because it's not what I do. Mm-hmm. And I have to respect that because, listen, man, I'm talking about sports, and I don't play sports anymore, so I shouldn't be talking either.
Yeah, but you're 100% right. We know, like, I know LeBron James' opinion on religion, sports, politics, movies, music. I don't know any of that about Michael Jordan. I don't know any about that about Larry Bird. And I can know the way that LeBron James felt tonight at 8:15 because I can go read a tweet that he wrote. It's a really polarizing view. And same thing for us. People get access to us and have a preconceived notion about Pete Johnson or about this person or that. So it's just we just live in a more polarizing type experience because you get to see everybody interact in real time.
I tell you, man, when I was a little bit more active on social media in my earlier days, like on Twitter, because that's where it started for me, I might have said some things that were pretty polarizing to people that people are like, oh, screw this guy. And probably stuff I shouldn't have been talking about anyways, because it's not, I'm not really well educated about those things I might have made an opinion on. So I just stay out of it now, because at the end of the day, I just want to make cigars and have people enjoy them.
Yeah, I think it's wise.
Cheers to that.
Well, I can share with you one of my opinions, not to go off topic, but this is a.
Are you looking to piss some people off? Let me give you an opinion.
Let me give you an opinion. Here's an opinion for you right here. I smoke cigars. That's what I like to do. But I also help people.
Great segue.
I just sorry, I had to look at Nicole just like break. I'm getting to it. Don't ruin the segue. Come on, ruining the flow here. My own teammate ruining the flow. No, you've probably seen the shirts. I got one on tonight. I know some people have posted them online. A lot of them have been going out. I wanted to hit on this. We haven't talked about it on social media in the last couple of weeks or so. We've been tied up with a bunch of things. So I kind of want to bring this up because it's important to us. Our 1-year anniversary of the Smokin Tabacco show is coming up, April 30th. For those who were there in the beginning, you remember the tragedy that was the May Day Eve massacre. If you weren't there,
thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. The video does exist online, but it's hard to find, and we hope to keep it that way. But we wanted to celebrate, and we didn't want to just make it about ourselves. We wanted to do it about someone else too. So we have partnered up with Cigar Family Charitable Foundation, the Fuente Newman families, and we are currently running our fundraiser. All the items on the Smokin Tabacco store that we sell now through April 30th, all of the proceeds are going to go to Cigar Family Charitable Foundation.
Nice.
not just like this shirt that we made this and a couple other designs,
Everything.
that were charity related, but all of the items. We're not taking anything from any of it. We're going to raffle through that, which we're going to be announcing very soon. I think we have all the items so far. People have been throwing items in for us to raffle off. Casa Cuevas has thrown some things in. We have
LFD.
McAuliffe, Nova. We have some LFD stuff that we're putting in there. We're going to put some bourbon in there. We're going to do some samplers of each of our cigars that we like from our personal collection. We're going to put like good, some really cool stuff. We're going to put in there as well. People can win. We're also going to be releasing. I think Nicole might. We releasing that tomorrow. Is that live now or is?
It's not finished quite yet, but it will
Okay.
be live tomorrow. So the list of everything that we're going to be raffling off, aside from, I already know there's a couple of things that are missing from that list, but we will be selling $5 raffle tickets. So pretty much every item that you buy from our website gets you a raffle ticket. If you've already participated and bought things since we announced our charity fundraiser, you will get a raffle ticket for each of those items that you purchased. But we are going to be selling raffle tickets separately so that you can win some of these many wonderful prizes. So, and help a good cause.
Yeah, and it's all to raise money for a good cause. Everyone who's already ordered, there's been a bunch of orders already. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We know the Fuente and Newman families appreciate it. The kids, who this money goes to down in the Dominican, we know they will appreciate it. We're really excited to be doing something like this. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When I first started, getting into my own corner of the cigar industry here, through my platform, I always said, if I was able to have a platform to connect with people and I had an audience, I want to use that power for good. And I also wanted to use that power to give back to people. So this is something that's always been always on the book, always in the plan. I just wanted to wait till the right time to make that attempt at it, and I think that this is a good time. And so far, it's been going good. We have high hopes for the rest of the month. I think it's gonna really take off in the next couple of weeks as we really get into it. We kind of soft launched it, if you will. Now we're really into it now. So again, guys, thank you very much for those who already have. And if you're interested and you're looking to get into that, you can head to the website at smokintabacco.com. That's SMOKINTABACCO, not TO, .com, and you can find all of the items on our store page as well as the raffle tickets that will be live tomorrow. If in case you don't want any of the items, but you want to give in, donate, or you want to just you want to be a part of that raffle, it still all goes to a good cause. So I just want to remind everyone about that and show off some of the cool shirts that Nicole designed.
I did design that, but it's all.
I like that. I like the shirt you're wearing. But what does it say above? Help people.
Oh, I smoke cigars and I help people.
Very closer. Cool. I like it.
And my virtual background kicked me away.
Took over.
But yeah, so that's in there. There's another shirt I think we made that's Hope Through Education.
Yeah, Hope Through Education, because that's what the charity is all about. But it is all of our apparel. So for the ladies, I have Smokin Babe. So everything that is Smokin Babe is also included. We have phone cases, mugs, hats, shirts, and 100% of the profits will go to the charity. So
very cool.
Yeah.
I think we're getting close to our first 1,000.
Yeah.
I believe. And we're getting to our first 1,000 that we've already raised. So it's cool stuff, and we're really proud of that. We want to thank everyone who donated items for the raffle. That was really generous. That was really kind of those companies to donate things. A couple of them are our partners. So and stuff from our own personal collection because at the end of the day stuff. And we wanted to share that with other people as well as raise money for this cause. So I just wanted to hit on that again really quickly, and just let everyone know it's still going now through April 30th. We are getting towards the end of the show. Before we close out the show, first of all, it's been a fun show. It's been a great show. Pete, you've been an awesome guest. We've had a great time, great conversation. I want to, as I always do, I'm going to throw the floor to you for anything you want to say, anything you want to promote, anything you want to tell us, any secrets about anyone, any vendettas you might want to share. This is the time to do it.
No, yeah, I really don't have much to say. I mean, And obviously, we have new products coming out, and they'll be out over the next few months. We have the T110 launching actually next week. It's going to probably show up. Well, actually, next week it shows up in Los Angeles. It's on its way to Hawaii. But we have the rest of the batch that we did is going to be coming out sometime in May for the rest of the country. The pre-release was just for this retailer in Hawaii named R Fields, Marvin Shank. And I mean, we have a lot of cool things coming up towards the summer, including new fresh packs that we just finished. And I don't know. I don't really have much to say other than that. I just want people to enjoy cigars and keep doing what we're doing. I've actually appreciated being on these Zoom herfs or these Skype herfs or these interviews, because I always say that cigar smokers are lonely and we need communication with people. And that's why we go to cigar stores. Yeah, never smoke alone, right? That's why we go to cigar stores and want to hang out with people. And because of the world we were living in, we haven't been able to really feel that. And this is the closest we can do to be able to be around people. I was on a herf last night until 2 a.m. So I appreciate the time that people take to hang out. So thanks for having me on. It's always good to see you.
We appreciate the time, you take to just come on and be with us. That's awesome. Thank you, for your time. Obviously you're a busy guy too. John, anything you want to say? It's a little lost.
No, we've got what we got? We got Easter coming up. We got Easter coming up this weekend, so that'll be great. Got some good food planned for that. I'm doing a leg of lamb. I'm doing a picanha chimichurri sauce with that. So that's all we got going on food-wise. Cigar-wise, I'm kind of taking the month of April and scaling things back just a little bit as the industry gets caught up in production. There's not a lot we can do out there right now as everybody's backed up, so I'm scaling back in April. Our next Hacking Gourmet show isn't until April 12th, but we'll be doing that live here in Orlando with Fred Rui. Both he and I will be on site at the same spot. I got kind of a laid back weekend planned. And Pete, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate the support. I appreciate the friendship over the years and the support of me personally. That's been great. And I really enjoyed the cigar tonight, man. I've been looking for some Faustos, and I got really into them again because of our friend James Spader over at the Blacklist. And it's funny, man. I've been watching this show it was on CBS in like the mid to late 2000s. It was called The Unit. And the guy Dennis Haysbert was on it. He's the Allstate spokesman. And he played the main character. There's tons of cigars in that show. Like there's Arturo Fuente boxes. There's all sorts of stuff that was, real popular in 2006. Some off brands that don't even exist anymore. So it was fun to see a brand featured on television again and prominently like that. And not only was it prominent, the guy's obviously a cigar smoker and knew what he was talking about because he pronounced everything perfect.
And he was specific about it too. He could have just said, like a Tatuaje, but no, he was specific and he said a Tatuaje Fausto.
No, by the way, I will admit, the first Fausto I've had in over a year, it is definitely a smooth draw, Tatuaje Fausto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice plug. I don't know how it came about, but I have a feeling it probably came about from there's a store in West Hollywood called V-Cut Smoke Shop, and that's where kind of like a lot of TV writers hang out and smoke, and I think Spader actually goes there to enjoy cigars himself. So
it was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So for the record, you had no prior knowledge of that being said on the show.
It's funny because I almost want to remember that someone called, like a buddy of mine said, "Hey, my buddy's writing an episode for a show. He didn't tell me what it was, but he wants to put one of your cigars in there." I was like, "Yeah, go ahead." And I think it might have stemmed from that. But I have to thank them. I have to actually text my friend who was a fairly well-known writer who wrote the American Pie series, and ask him, "Hey, did you help out with this? Was that
really cool, man?"
Yeah.
I was watching the show because I watched that with my father when I'm up in Maine visiting there. So we were watching the show and I paused it. because I knew what scene it was on. I said, "You're about to hear something really cool." I go, "Remember that gentleman Pete Johnson I tell you about? That's from originally from Maine." I go, "This guy." I go, "Reddington's about to mention his cigar." He's like, "Oh man," he goes, "That was so awesome." He's like, "Do we have any of those downstairs?" And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna get some."
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything you would like to share with us that we haven't already said?
Yeah, so we're going to be announcing our April schedule soon for Smokin Tabacco. We have Joe Grow from Drew Estate first week. We have Sean Williams, Cohiba second week. Third week is a mystery guest. We will, I guess, surprise you with that. And then the last week, we will be doing our May Day Eve Massacre Redemption because it will be officially our 1-year anniversary for Smokin Tabacco. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're excited. We're almost there. We're almost that
And
1
I
year
might
mark.
have
It's crazy.
I might have a mystery guest plan for that one too. So you never know what I'm doing the production on that one.
Okay.
So we've got some graphics that I'm already working on. We're going to put on a party, and I may have a couple special guests. You never know. So stay tuned for the 1-year anniversary episode for sure.
Couple of special guests. Yeah. This is
Hey,
gonna-
John, I have a question for John real quick. Am I going to see you? Actually, my wife and I will be there, but the Cathedral, May 22nd in Tampa. I know Tony's going to be there. You'll be there?
I will be there as well. So yeah, if I don't see you before, we'll see you in May for their grand opening. That's going to be a blast, man. What a great group of people they got lined up.
Great group of people. Just happy to be part of it.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's if you haven't been up there yet, it's over the top. And I know you said you're going to Tampa soon. Make sure you swing by and check it out. It's certainly one of the more unique places in the country.
Yeah, very cool.
And we'll be doing a bunch of lives too the first week of May because we are doing a Smokin Tabacco tour of Florida the first week of May. So we will be there.
We
Right,
will be
Carney?
down there.
Yeah, we're gonna have a blast. We're gonna do Miami for a couple days, work up the East Coast, go to Orlando, and then we're gonna do a trip in Tampa. We had Angela on the show here about a month ago now, so we're looking forward to getting them down there too. So hey, who knows? We might run into you in Miami, Pete.
Yep.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, guys, that was another great show. Thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you next week with Joe Grow. Bye, guys.